I find that SEOs
Yeah.
in-house, SEOs client side, they always find it challenging to have recommendations implemented. Now, having worked client side, what are some of the challenges you've seen when it comes to having a strategy or recommendation and aiming to get it through the line and actually have it implemented?
I think that's a great question. I kind of want to unpack a little bit why it's the case that
Go for
that
it.
that view is generally held, and I would say that it's generally true as well. It's definitely been my experience, and you do hear it all of the time. Like your relationship with a content writer or merchandising team, buying team, etc. It can typically be a little bit better than with a development team. Um, I think I think the reputation of SEO as a technical field. I mean, I remember a few years ago, I think it was at a conference. I think John, is it Mueller? Mueller, I always say his name
Hmm.
wrong because it's John Moo on Twitter, and I always just say John Moo, and then I'm like, oh wait, that's
Yeah.
not his name. So I feel bad about it. But he said something like the SEO industry has come on leaps and bounds, especially in the area of tech. And I think this was the same year that you saw a lot of literature coming out on JavaScript SEO, how to deal with sites that are predominantly JavaScript or loading a lot of
Hmm.
client-side JavaScript. And I do agree. Like I do think that the technical side of SEO has come on a lot, and I think that because it's easier to have a definite answer to something like, yeah, if you block Google in your robots text file, it's highly unlikely you're going to rank your site. Like that's a yes or no thing. And so I think that it is much more accepted, whereas there is more guesswork in some of the other fields. So I wonder if that has something to do with leaning in more into tech and seeing it as a more technical field because it has come along so far, and because the answers are usually definite. Although there are, of course, a lot of situations where, well, it depends. But a canonical tag does something, and you know what it's going to do. Um, but yeah, I wonder if the reputation of SEO as being a more technical field, and when you're giving technical advice to a content writer, if they're more willing to trust that advice because they aren't necessarily technical. Whereas a developer who is as techie as you can get, and then you have this SEO saying, oh, can we do this? And then you have the reputation of SEOs going back a few decades, and where it's all like link building and a little bit scammy. I wonder if that reputation is kind of holding us back, and the fact that we're not perhaps as technical as them, but we're asking them to do something. And so I wonder if that has something to do with it. But um, I mean, there are obviously like absolute stars of developers who really get it. Like Miles, who I'm working with now at Oxford Comma, like just the difference in talking to him versus some other developers. Like you'll ask him a question and he'll be like, oh yeah, it's this, and I'm like, oh my god, what a great interaction. Like I've really valued working with him. I worked with him in house, and honestly I would say that was one of the best roles that I had, because like I sat next to him and he would ask me questions on how to implement something properly, and I'd never had that before. And then I could ask him anything, and it was a really good relationship. And I'm so glad that I get to work with him again, because it's just like the best work relationship between an SEO and a developer I could ever imagine. But yeah, I definitely have had the experience of being ignored or not getting items into your tech roadmap, for example. Advice on that, I think um, try to get on side, like ask questions. Like I saw the episode that you put out with, I think it was Patrick, is it Stocks, Patrick Stocks,
Yeah.
or Patrick Stock. I really enjoyed that episode. I thought it was great, and he was saying like when he gives a ticket that's about SEO and it has a technical solution, he will say, this is the outcome I want, but you do it however you want. And I did kind of like that approach, because I think a lot of the time, if you do say, and I want it to be exactly this, you're kind of discounting the knowledge and the expertise that a developer has built over however long their career has been in
Hmm.
preference of exactly how you want it to be done, when
Yeah.
it's more than likely that you're not coding it actually yourself. I do think that it's definitely good to have a detailed ticket, and there are obviously some misunderstandings, but trying to build that relationship based on respect as a foundation, I think, is a pretty solid way to start. Um, Sometimes it won't help at all. Like, you'll just have a roadmap, they've got it in place, you can't get anything in there, and it's 2 years long and you're just waiting. But I think in that case, like, maybe try to sneak a few things in, try to support, just try your best. And if all else fails, try to focus on content because it's more likely that you'll get something up. There are fewer roadblocks there.